This past weekend was Toronto Pride. It was the main parade. And Black Lives Matter Toronto staged a protest. It was a sit-in. And it held up the parade for, I've heard, somewhere between 25 and 30 minutes. So around a half an hour. And they had a list of demands. I'm going to link to those demands in the down below in the description box. Those demands were ostensibly accepted by the chairperson of Pride. Since then, there seems to have been some backpedaling, but overall, seemed to be a fairly effective action. It got some stuff done, and a lot of people, like 8 or 9 people, emailed me or messaged me earlier this week. Because they had, I guess, various issues with the way the protest went down, and they had some, maybe conflicting feelings, and, wanted to be supportive of Black Lives Matter, but they didn't know if they, supported the demands or the way the action went down, and they wanted my analysis about it, and they, wanted me to explain maybe where Black Lives Matter is coming from, the relationship between Black Lives Matter and the queer community. And if you're my friend on Facebook, which there's a good chance you are, because I think everyone who subscribes to this channel right now are people who know me in my real life. I was like, I can't take that on. And I explained that on my Facebook post. So the TL:DR for that is that it's just really personal. For me, because I am a Black person, and racism is something that affects me in my daily life, and it's also something that I don't generally talk about publicly. It's something that I don't even talk about with a lot of my friends, frankly, and a lot of the discussion and response I've seen to what happened this past weekend reminded me of why. Because I find that a lot of people don't want to talk about racism, and that as a Black woman, it's a facet of my life that people don't want to know about. And, the experience of racism itself, for me, is very emotional. It's very anxiety producing, and, it makes me sad and mad. And so I have all these, pretty difficult emotions around it. And then when I try to talk to someone about it, if they're not really receptive to hearing about it, that just creates this extra level of anxiety and fear and like, oh geez, and so it just becomes too difficult emotionally. And so I keep most of my feelings about racism and my experiences with racism fairly private. I only talk about it with a very, very small group of people that I've learned that I can really, really trust. What I do want to talk about is some issues around inclusivity that came out of this protest. One of the biggest criticisms I've heard about what Black Lives Matter Toronto did, or rather their list of demands, and a question that people have asked me repeatedly, is that how can these people demand that Toronto police services not be allowed to participate in Pride? And by participate, specifically not have a float, like not march in the parade. And I've read a lot of really interesting analysis from different people who are part of the gender and sexually diverse community here in Toronto and Ontario. So I'm gonna do like a link bomb and link to that down below. But I just wanted to share my own thoughts on inclusivity in general. Assuming that this is one of our goals as a society and as a culture, that we want to have a truly inclusive culture, which I think is a really lofty goal. I do have some issue with the idea that in order to be truly inclusive, that a group who's been oppressed needs to remain open and interact with the group who's been oppressing them in any situation. So in this case, we're talking about pride. Yeah, I do want to offer sort of a counter to the idea that, you know, yeah, if we're gonna have a truly inclusive society, then, you know, people of color and Black people just need to remain open, and they need to be able to party with the police. And if they're like, we don't want to party with the police, that is going to shut down inclusivity and, you know, and create enemies of everyone. So, to that point, here is an analogy. Let's say that you and I are roommates. We share a home that we love. Beyond being roommates, you and I we're friends, and we're part of a larger group of friends. And one person in our group, one mutual friend of ours, is being kind of shitty to you. And maybe they don't even mean to be shitty to you, or they don't realize that they're being shitty to you, but just, you know, over time they just keep doing things that, you know, make you really uncomfortable, that they're doing things to you that are unfair. And over time, you really come to feel that you can't trust our mutual friend. And you start to distance yourself from that person, because when you're around them, you feel uncomfortable, you feel scared, you don't feel safe, you don't feel like you can trust them, you don't trust them. And so this goes on, and then one day, I'm like, hey, do you want to have a party? Let's have a party here. Like, let's invite people into our home and celebrate our home and our friendship and everything. And you're like, yes, let's do that. You know, let's get a bumpin' playlist. Let's get some like sweet food to eat. Let's make a guest list. And so I'm putting together the guest list, and I'm like, yeah, here are all the people I invited, including our mutual friend. And you're like, I don't trust that person, and we're not cool right now. I'm not comfortable having them in my house. And I'm like, but I want us to be an inclusive group of friends. It has to be everyone. That's what I want. As your friend, your roommate, and a person who shares your home, if what I want is true inclusivity amongst our friends, I have two choices. I actually probably have a lot of choices, but for the sake of the analogy, I have two choices. So I can turn to you and I can be like, listen, I want inclusivity, and the inclusivity I want is just pretty shallow. I just want us all to be together in our home at the same time. So suck it up, because your feelings and your experience with this mutual friend are not as important as just having us all in the same space, so we can say that we were all together and we're gonna take like a rad group selfie and it's gonna be amazing. So if you could just like smile for the group selfie, and then, you know, maybe suck it up for the party, and then they'll be gone, and it'll be inclusive and it'll be amazing. Yeah, I can do that, but you're gonna feel like crap, and there's still gonna be that rift and that mistrust in the group. So yes, we're all physically together, but it's not really truly inclusive. My other choice is I can be like, okay, I want inclusivity amongst this group. I want us all to be good. I want us to be a community of friends. So I can go to our mutual friend and I can say, okay, you know what? My roommate, who I love and trust and I share a home with, has beef with you. And you've done some stuff that wasn't cool. And it's messed up your relationship with this person. I really want us all to be a community of friends. And, you know, I want us to take a rad group selfie together, but I want it to be a real group selfie where we're actually all friends. So here's the thing. You need to recognize what you did. You need to own what you did. You need to apologize for what you did. And then you're gonna have to take some time to figure out A, why you did that, B, what you can do differently, and C, actually do those things differently, and hope that my roommate sees all that and it comes to trust you again, you're gonna have to work to earn back that trust. And like, sorry, homie, that's probably gonna take a long time. I can't tell you when it's gonna be okay again, but you're gonna have to do that work. And I really love for you to do that work because, you know, I care about you, and I know you care about, you know, my roommate and our mutual friend, and maybe you didn't mean to hurt them, but you did. And so try to fix it. Do the work. And if you can do that, maybe my roommate will trust you again. And then we're all gonna party together, and you can come over and we're gonna take a rad group selfie. But in the meantime, I can't have you over because it's a shared space. That's, you know, that's my home slice. That's their home. And their comfort in our home has to take priority over us all being together as a group. So yeah, down the line, let's all be together as a group, but you gotta do the work. You gotta fix this. Especially in the case of racism or other forms of systematic oppression, yeah, it's understandable that the group who's being oppressed is like, we don't really want to party with the folks who have been oppressing us, because it makes everyone else feel comfortable and it makes it seem like everything's cool when things aren't cool. I think the way that you have true, authentic inclusivity is, you know, if we've been oppressive, and we've all been oppressive in some way, be like, okay, first of all, I need to recognize that I've been oppressive, or that my group has been oppressive. I need to own that. I need to think about why that happened, and I need to figure out how to undo all of that oppression moving forward. And then I need to do the actual hard, long, tedious work of changing the way I do things and earning back the trust. And then when the trust is earned back, it's like, yeah, all right, I'm a party with you because we're down and I can trust you, and I feel confident that what happened before isn't gonna happen again. All right, that's all I'm gonna say on this for now. If you're still struggling or you're not sure how you feel, then yeah, check out the links in the link bomb, you know, Google the protest, check out Black Lives Matter Toronto's Facebook page. That's also gonna be in the link bomb below. Just, yeah, read and research and, you know, try to listen and, you know, figure out where you're at. And yeah, that's it. I'm done. Need to eat out. Okay, see you in the next one. Bye. Check out my last video if you want to find out the 3 things you should remember if you want to have a great sex talk with your kids. And of course, don't forget to check me out on social media, and of course, click to subscribe.